Today is launch day for Brighter Shores, and man am I excited. I'm going to make some videos going into more details soon, but here's a quick heads up so you can make up your mind whether you want to get into this game on day one. I won't be mentioning any spoilers for the story here, so don't worry. I'll just be telling you about the gameplay mechanics and how it generally feels. So the game is divided up into different episodes, with 4 episodes starting on early access launch. When the game is fully launched, there'll be a 5th episode, with more episodes coming regularly thereafter. Also, as it's early access, PvP and player-to-player trading isn't yet implemented, but will be there for the full launch. All progress from early access is kept, there's not going to be a server reset. First off, the game starts off on the right foot. It's got a good UI and some nice humour from the game design. The character creation is fine. I personally would like to see some more variety in the colour options given for hair and clothes, but it's pretty good. Bear in mind, your settings will all be set to private by default when you start the game. You've got to go in and change these if you want to see player names and to chat with other people. You quickly get into the action with the story. I won't go into detail, but there's mandatory combat, which is very straightforward because it's just a tutorial, after which you can do whatever you want. However, to get access to the content after episode 1, you do have to progress a short way into the main story. So I personally recommend following the quests, at least to begin with, but it's nice to know you can play how you want to play. There was some controversy in the first hour of the launch. Has the server just gone down? Yeah, something's happened. Server's gone down. Okay, the joys of launch day. The servers had a little bit of a wobble and everyone got kicked out of the game. What followed was about 30 minutes of people getting logged in and out, and we lost around 5 to 10 minutes of game progress. To be honest, I expected this, as every major launch seems to have server issues these days. Service providers seem to constantly underestimate player numbers. What is disappointing is the lost progress. Some people reported that they were pushed back to the start of quests that they just finished. I personally lost a chest piece that I still haven't been able to get back, and I got kicked back a few levels as well. That said, it was only a few minutes of playtime that were lost, and shortly after this they did a game update, probably allocating extra server resources, and the game has been very stable since. The profession system is in some ways familiar, but there are interesting skills and mechanics in there that I haven't seen in other games. Potion making and cooking function more or less the same way as one another, with some lovingly crafted animations. Some cooking ingredients must be bought from traders, some come from fishing, and even a few from foraging. Potion making comes apparently exclusively from foraging, at least in the early game. There's a few quirks to the game that I noticed. Strangely, you can catch fish at level 0, but you can't cook them. Only about half the fish you catch in the game are cookable, with the other half only being useful to sell, as far as I can tell. What I think is a really interesting mechanic is that when you go back to the starter areas at a higher level, the fish have changed to a higher tier breed of the same type of fish, which means you can still fish there for good XP gains and profits. Now, the cynic in me says this is a good way to get more content out of a smaller map, and is just a way of doing less work in the game design. However, I actually think it's brilliant. How many MMOs have you played where there are starter areas with low tier skilling, which you then never go back to? Some people can start a game and it feels completely empty because there's nobody around them doing the activities they're doing. Not so with Brighter Shores, because these areas are kept relevant even for higher level players. Another unique thing about the game is the banking system. There isn't a central bank, but there are separate banks for different kinds of equipment and supplies. The potion making area has a bank for ingredients and a bank for potions. The cooking area has a bank for cooking ingredients. It feels odd, but then you realise that you would never need to access cooking ingredients outside of the kitchen. And so actually it makes sense, and it means you're not constantly having to organise a general bank tab. What's really cool is that all the combat equipment can be remotely accessed from anywhere outside of combat, using a simple spell that you learn at the start of the game. It's worth noting that this spell and other non-combat spells so far appear to be free to cast and have 0 cooldown, meaning you can teleport around the map to your heart's content. Now, things like this give me the impression that the developers have really thought about what they would like to see in the game. There's a lot of quality of life things in there. Some of them may be obvious, but there's other things that I never thought of, and they actually seemed alien to me when I saw them, and then when I experienced them I thought, oh, this is actually really good game design. And it's interesting, all these little things they've put in the game that tell me that this is a game developed by gamers. So I really like these little quirks. It's early days, so I'll do full guides later. But one tip I would give you is that it will soon feel like you have loads of money and nothing to spend it on. But don't be deceived. When you get a few levels, you'll need to start buying skilling equipment, which is significantly more expensive than other items you've seen so far. So save up those coppers. There are lots of ways to make money. Getting items from scratch, such as through fishing or foraging, is good, but you can't always sell the raw ingredients sometimes. Sometimes you need to cook them or make them into a potion in order to sell them, and normally you get significantly more money for doing that, so it is worth it. Combat can also make money. Mobs either drop money directly or they drop items. Personally, I found that items don't sell for much, and I've preferred to make money with skilling, but it's up to you, depends how lucky your drops are. Watch out for cooking, because some recipes require you to buy items from a vendor. Normally in these cases, the meal will sell for more than the ingredient, but I'm not sure if it's always the case. There are recipes where you can gather the ingredients yourself, and if you do that, you'll make more profit if you're going to spend the time gathering the ingredients. But you're sometimes given the opportunity to just buy the ingredients instead of gathering them. But I've found that these generally make a loss. So just keep an eye on how much you're spending on ingredients versus what you're selling your meals for. Active skilling is quick in the early game, as expected. And it's interesting that you have to hit level 20 in a profession and do a certain amount of active skilling after this, before you unlock the ability to do any kind of AFK skilling. You then spend knowledge points that you get from actively skilling to unlock AFK skilling activities. I went AFK for an hour fighting street lice at level 20 and got 1,692 XP and 1 silver and 640 coppers. So it's not game breaking at all, but equally it prevents fear of missing out. You know your character is making progress, even while you're not playing the game. To me, the balance of AFK skilling seems about right, at least for these early levels. In general, the game is really fun. The dopamine rush of leveling up and discovering items and areas, unlocking cards and getting drops for monsters is very real. I've just started episode 2 and I was surprised to find it's actually even bigger than episode 1. I don't know if that's going to carry on as a trend with episode 3 and 4, but yeah, it's not just a little add-on, the map is certainly bigger and there's a lot of content in there. So I'm not too far into the story yet, but the characters have been interesting and the story's been enjoyable, even if the quests themselves are extremely easy. But again, it's just the first few quests of the game, so I expect them to be easy. As episodes 1 and 2 are still free to play content, I can't tell you yet whether I'd recommend buying the premium version of the game, unless of course you're eager to get your own personalized name before someone else takes it, in which case then you might want to sign up now. What I can say is the first 2 episodes have been great, and since they're free, there's no reason not to try them. I'm streaming Brighter Shores every day this week, and I'll be making several videos over the next few days, sharing what I learn and giving you tips I find along the way. Please let me know your thoughts, tips, and questions in the comments here, and maybe come along to one of my streams so we can chat about the game. Subscribe if you want to see more Brighter Shores gameplay, guides, and news. I'm going to go play the game some more. I will be streaming, so check that out. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Have a great day.